looking at Friedrich Nietzsche versus dog haters. In this video, we're going to look at some of what Nietzsche said about errors in thinking, and then we're going to compare it to a dog hater. So let's start at about 5244, and I'll show you a little bit about what I'm talking about.
Is not satisfying. And why? Well, Nietzsche says there's a psychological explanation for why it's not satisfying, and it's fairly simple. To locate a cause is to make known the unknown. And this quote relieves, comforts, and satisfies, besides giving a feeling of power. End quote.
So he's talking about we use our memory to give value to situations in a way that's pleasurable, not necessarily a way that is real or accurate, because it's unknown. It's like an unknown thing. You can see this a lot, for example, in the pit bull culture. When somebody is killed or injured or in the hospital on life support from the family pit bull, everybody is full of this state of being unknown. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know why the dog attacked. And so they just pull from memory. They pull from everything that they've been told, and they say stuff like, oh, the dog must have been triggered. Oh, we don't know why the dog attacked. Even though their child is completely ripped limb from limb, even though grandma has an arm missing, they want a quick answer. They want quick comfort from this event that happened to them. So they will do kind of what Nietzsche is talking about right here. And after a little while, I'll show you how this affects the dog haters as well.
When we're confronted by an event beyond our control or understanding, the least we can do in order to not feel overwhelmed by this is to explain why it is the event is happening, to give the event a meaning. Simply put, to remain in a situation in which we're surrounded by the unknown is terrifying, and the mind starts to grab for a cause in order to abolish the sense of terror, like sort of grasping at vines to claw our way out of that pit, right?
Doesn't that sound a lot like the stories? Every time someone gets in front of the camera with a pit bull attack, they're whining and crying and throwing a fit. We had the dog for 8 years. Now my wife is dead. They're full of terror. But then they do the same thing that everyone else does, the same thing that everyone's told them. But the dog seems so friendly, and we don't know what we did wrong to cause him to kill us. This stuff that Nietzsche is talking about is very prevalent in the dog culture.
And so Nietzsche writes, quote, "First principle, any explanation is better than none, since at bottom it is merely a matter of wishing to be rid of oppressive representations. One is not too particular about the means of getting rid of them."
Yeah, oppressive representations. Somebody that does something wrong, when they made a stupid decision to get a pit bull dog, or they did something else, like I'll show you what the dog hater did in a little while, they don't want to be in that, they don't want to be represented as bad people. So they will make a bunch of excuses for the dog, or they'll make a bunch of excuses for themselves, to make somebody else look bad. Isn't that what dog owners do too? They'll say, oh, it was this person's fault, that person's fault, the owner, the breeder, the car honked the horn too loud. They have a dog in their house that is built to kill, and then when it kills or hurts one of them, now they're in trouble. They've done something wrong, but they're going to cover that. They're going to cover it by doing like what Nietzsche says. They're going to make all of these quick explanations.
The first representation that explains the unknown as familiar feels so good that one, quote, considers it true. The proof of pleasure, of strength, as a criterion of truth.
Yeah. It pleases the dog owners to make these excuses, even though they know it's wrong, even though maybe they don't, they've been brainwashed. It feels good for them to sit there and try to give some type of meaning to the crap that's going on in their life with the dog.
End quote. We return to that old bad habit in drawing conclusions that Nietzsche wrote about way back in Human All Too Human, the proof by pleasure. Believe this because it feels good. In this case, because it abolishes that which feels bad. The sense of the unknown. It doesn't even have to be a good explanation. Any explanation that delivers us from the fear of the unknown. The first one that...
Yeah, any explanation. That means context, and that means time considerations, personal considerations of the situation that you're looking at. Those are not going to be important. It's all about getting the pleasure from the quick explanation.
that seems to work as a cause. We will pick that explanation as soon as possible so that we can stop thinking about it. Nietzsche goes on to say, of course, that we will adopt familiar causes over anything strange, over anything never experienced before. Whatever we have already inscribed into memory and labeled as a cause will be our go-to. And memory...
So this can happen with the dog haters too. If they see a picture of somebody with a dog, they're instantly going to pull from all their dog hate. They're going to instantly say that dog is pooping everywhere, harassing wildlife, attacking, running, jumping, hurting. They're instantly going to assume all of this bad stuff because they're coming from a place of hate. The current dog haters that I'm going to show you in a little bit, they just come from a place of hate. And so, like Nietzsche says, that's what they're going to use to label anything they see. And maybe they're correct in pulling these memories from their experiences with dogs, but that doesn't mean they're 100% correct, and that doesn't mean that abandoning reason is a good thing, because dog haters end up abandoning reason and compassion when they participate in what Nietzsche is explaining right here.
We will habituate this kind of thinking.
Sorry, Nietzsche.
As a heuristic for future encounters with the unknown. The lingering doubt, the mysterious, the unexplained, this is in many ways a torment. Causal thinking is a delivery from that torment, but that doesn't make it true. It just makes it pleasurable. See, this is the radical critique that Nietzsche's giving us about the structure.
Okay, so it doesn't make it true, it just makes it pleasurable. That makes sense. So now we're going to go over here to the Dog Hater channel. So when you're confronted with something that you don't know about, you don't understand, you weren't there, it's pleasurable for you to do this habit of stealing other people's pictures and throwing them up on your Facebook page or throwing them up on your YouTube page. You stole them from a Facebook page. So for knone, it's pleasurable for him to do this because his subscribers, they will give him the dopamine hits of confirming all of the out of context things that he says. What he's doing is he's creating an explanation and a cause for whatever he says is happening. He says that attacks are happening. So he's just pulling from his dog hate vocabulary or his dog hate memories and applying all of that to this right here. He's doing exactly what Nietzsche said because it feels good for him. He's not going to use reasoning. He's not going to look at the fact that there's no campers there or no other hikers. He's not going to look at who is it that took these pictures. Did the dog owner take these pictures? Are these dogs strays? He's not going to look at any of that stuff. He's just going to pull from his little thing and please himself. Basically mental masturbate himself by applying his dog hate to this picture that he grabbed. Let's go back to the Nietzsche thing, and I want to show you something else that Nietzsche said that people do when they're doing this type of stuff. So it's a German phrase, but he says, imaginary causes we invent based on a sensation or mental state. So instead of considering things, we imagine things and we invent everything to support whatever we have. So in the case of knone, he invented a bunch of situations that were going to happen right here to support his hatred of dogs. Attacks, campings and hikings and off-leash mutts they're attacking. He's inventing a situation that did not happen here just to support his preloaded hate that he has in his head. This is one of his habits that he does actually all over his community page. He brings other people to his community page via tagging them, says something about them, even though they're likely blocked from his channel by way of hide user from channel so they can't actually comment. And he creates this self-generated drama to support his hatred of dogs just for pleasure. He's not actually solving any dog ownership problems. He's just pleasuring himself by making conclusions, just like he did with this picture. In the previous picture, he made issue with the lack of a leash, yet this picture has a leash. Yet he's using this picture to trash talk the person that he's grabbed a picture of. This is a picture from somebody's fiance's page who passed away. Yeah, that's right. In order to pleasure himself, this is what knone does. He grabs this picture right here and throws it up out of context, and he utilizes all of those things that Nietzsche talked about. Inventions, just pulling things from memory, whatever he has put into his head that equals dog hate, he's just overlaying that over the top of everything.
Of our thought, why we think the things that we do. As Deleuze would put it, truth is not an element of thought. Nietzsche here is saying pleasure is. The use of familiar, habitual thought patterns is pleasurable.
So that's what knone's doing. It's a familiar, habitual thought pattern. He's a dog hater and nothing else matters. So any picture that he can grab, any conversation that he can grab, he's really just pleasuring himself. He's over the top, posting several times a day, other people's content, complaining about it, pretending to engage in conversations with them. But really, he's just pleasuring himself. It's like he's masturbating himself mentally to his own dog hate, and he needs all of his viewers to give him that constant dopamine rush, almost like a person that owns several dogs.
Which is why, once this error in thought seeps into our thinking, we just continue in it insensibly. There's a dimension of this in our own individual psychology as well. Nietzsche writes, quote, "One kind of positing of causes predominates more and more, is concentrated into a system, and finally emerges as dominant, that is, as simply precluding other causes and explanations. The banker..."
Yeah, precluding other causes or anything. You know, when knone looks at this picture right here, he's not going to look at it and say, well, hey, wait a minute, that's the guy that helped that person rehome that dog. That's the guy, I heard a story about him. He actually got that dog seriously disciplined and trained, which that did happen. But instead of having a conversation with this person, instead of looking up on Google Maps, is this a dog-friendly area? No. knone overlaid his preloaded hate of dogs into this little thing. He drugged this over to his channel, and knone also, he's unsure. He's confused. He's feeling confusion because this person that he thought was going to support his channel 100% and never critique him, this person actually critiqued him in some other YouTube videos. So knone, he's unsure. He's worried that his users and his subscribers might find out that he treated somebody not very good by doing this crap. So how does knone fix his unsureness? He does just like Nietzsche talked about. He grabs stuff like this and throws it up and does that quick, fast explanation to get himself from a place of unsureness to now he's sure. Now he's sure. Now he's labeled this person a piece of trash. All of his subscribers are giving him down there, giving him all the heart, and now he feels relief. However, that relief doesn't last, and knone gets locked into this habit. And you can easily see that by looking at his community page.
Immediately thinks of business, the Christian of sin, and the girl of her love.
And the knone of his hatred for dogs. Nothing matters other than his hatred for dogs. And if somebody like this guy right here, that he threw a picture up, doesn't agree with his hatred of dogs, knone's little psychopathic, narcissistic, whatever you want to call it, I'm not giving 100% diagnosis, but this does fit the pattern of this type of stuff. His little persona starts to crumble. It starts to crumble, and he's like, he has to fix it. So he trolls other people's pages, drags their pictures over. He doesn't think about it. He doesn't understand that he got this picture from the admin of a tribute page to somebody that died. None of that's important to him. What's important to him is to quick get this up on his community page, trash talk this person, just in case there's a little nick in that persona that he has. So that has been a look at some of the errors in thinking and how it applies to pit bull culture and applies to the dog hate culture. And I'll leave you with a quick little voice clip of the thing that Nietzsche talks about. Nietzsche talks about where he talks about inventing reasons.
Of it only when we have furnished some kind of motivation. Memory, which swings into action in such cases, unknown to us, brings up earlier states of the same kind, together with the causal interpretations associated with them, not their real causes. End quote. This, I think, is eminently relatable because, for one, I think it's fairly common. It's a fairly common experience that sometimes you just wake up and feel, for lack of a more descriptive word, happy. You're just having a good day, and you can't even find any particular reason for it. Or maybe you wake up in a bad mood, you know? You woke up on the wrong side of the bed, as we say, and then a friend asks you, "Why are you in such a bad mood?" And then what happens? You begin to search for reasons. Some sort of consciously experienced or consciously articulated cause for why you're in a given mental state or in a given mood. The memory begins to present you with all these possibilities. Here's why you might feel that way. And as Nietzsche coins the phrase in Beyond Good and Evil, there might not be such a fine distinction between finding and inventing. Finden and erfinden, as these.
Yeah, there it is. Finding and inventing. You know, this Kanan character, he could have found out what was going on here. He could have figured this out. He could have looked up Crater Lake. Before he stole this picture off Facebook, he could have looked up the pinned post on that page he stole that from. He could have found out a lot about this before he threw this up on his page and moral grandstanded on top of this dog and on top of this man. But instead, he invented a bunch of situations to make that look bad. And that's what's going on overall in a lot of these dog hate channels. We're just like inventing reasons to hate on dogs and not actually putting a good case out there, not putting a good case that includes the love of our fellow humans. Because like with Kanan and with other examples, they're just going to trash on the human too. So I hope you found some value in this analysis. If you don't like the part about it where I bring in the dog hater, you can totally apply this to the pit bull culture. Like what I just said about inventing reasons, they always invent reasons why the dog is not at fault. When a fanged predator in their house causes damage to them, they will invent, because it gives them pleasure and because it's easier for them. See you guys later.